2. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my music corner of the world. My name is John Clauser. This is episode number 1 of what I hope will be many more to come of the North and South Metal Connection. Where do we get this from, you say? Well, I'm living here in the state of Alabama. My good compadres, Ben and JD, also are living in Alabama. The guy with the suicidal hat on, Roger Serreris, he's up in the great white north of Canada. So, and he may just use that sword behind him too. I don't know. We shall see. But it's heavy. But anyway, we are going to talk about some metal tonight. And we got talking about one of our favorite years, because we were bouncing ideas off each other, and we were like, hey, this album came out in 1980s. Hey, so did this one. Wow, this was so we said, hey, let's do some 1986. So me being the metal dad here, because I'm the only one who's probably old enough to remember 1986, I can actually school these guys and say, hey, check out this other stuff too. But before we get into this tonight, I want to pay tribute and homage to something I found out early this morning in the Christian metal scene. The band Tourniquet lost its leader, its drummer, main songwriter, did a little rhythm guitar. Guy's name was Ted Kirkpatrick. Band was called Tourniquet. This is one of the albums I have by them. It's called Vanishing Lessons. Very thrashy, very modern, very thinking man's metal. But they were a Christian band. Really had some unusual titles. The name of the disease he passed away from probably could have been a Tourniquet song. It was like a really rare lung disease, where his lungs got really badly scarred up to a point where he couldn't walk from one end of the room to the other, probably without losing breath. And anyway, he passed away sometime yesterday. So I know, Ted Kirkpatrick, I know no doubt about where he is right now. So it's just a shame we probably will not see any new Tourniquet music. But they had a lot of good albums to go check out. Those first 3 or 4 albums are absolute classics. Pathogenic Ocular Dissonance would be one. Stop the Bleeding would be another. As I said, Vanishing Lessons would be another. So good stuff to check out. Anyway, so what we're going to do with 1986. So we're going to go Ben and JD, and then we'll go to Roger, and then I'll throw something out there, and I'll just let you guys have at it. What kind of we're going to do our top 5, and then we'll probably come up with some honorable mentions. Lord knows I've got a lot of them. So
yeah,
there's all kind, because the metal dad here is gonna throw it out there. So
I've got at least 3 honorable mentions myself, but
okay.
I'm going to start with my number 5, and penalize me if it's necessary, but my number 5 pick of 1986 album is 5150 by Van Halen. I know it's not technically metal, it's more rock, but
works for me.
I love that album. Everything about that album. I love Sammy Hagar's voice. I love Eddie's guitar tone. Everything about that album kicks major butt to me, including the keyboards, even the song Why Can't This Be Love? Great track, great opener. I mean, second track, great opening rather. It's an album. All of my albums that I picked for my number 5 have one thing in common, and that's when you listen to them and that album finishes, you want to listen to it again.
Yep.
That to me is a huge component of a great album.
Absolutely.
So my number 5, 5150 by Van Halen.
And I absolutely love the title track. I love that riff, that detuned riff, and that slow groove, that halftime groove that moves into the normal time. Great track.
Great track.
Great pick. JD, what you got, brother?
And carrying back on what Ben just said about 5150. Yeah, to me, what he said, the first song that I think I ever heard from, I guess you can call it the Van Hagar era, was Why Can't This Be Love? And yeah, it's sappy, but I hear that song, and as soon as I hear the and then the synth comes in, and it's a good one. So yeah, it's a good pick. Great song, good album too.
Yes.
It almost made mine. I was flipping between that one and what eventually became my number 5, which is Awaken the Guardian by Fate's Warning.
Hang on, I got a prop for that.
That was
Look at there.
yeah, that's
Compact disc.
funny enough, that's the only Fate's Warning album I've ever heard. But it's
Good band to check out.
I mean, it's a great album. Starts out with The Sorceress. Really good. I was reading up a little bit on it just to, just do a little bit of research on it. It's funny, like the band themselves didn't really see it as a prog album, but it is at the same time. Like to me, like, I see, why everybody calls it like one of the best prog metal albums of all time. And it's, like I said, it starts out, like I said, really, and it never lets up. It's to me, it's like, the band said, like it falls in that category of, as soon as it's over, it's got the replay value to it. And it's, to me, it's, all killer, no filler.
That's right.
So, yeah.
More on that in a little while. Roger.
This is gonna be good right here.
Here's something really unexpected from the guy wearing a Slayer t-shirt. My number 5 is Bon Jovi when Slippery.
No way!
You know what I mean?
Love it.
Slippery when wet. I cannot speak all of a sudden. But oh my God.
Oh yeah.
And here's a random fact. Just a little bit of history from me. Bon Jovi, first rock artist I ever listened to as a kid when I was like, I think it was like 5 years old.
Okay.
And I've listening to them ever since. What? It's funny. Any other year, it'd probably be in the top 3. That has so many singles that are still being played even today.
Oh, absolutely. Living on a
I remember
Prayer.
I was at a Stanley Cup Finals game and the entire crowd sang Living on a Prayer. I'm like, wow.
Just pulling up Bon Jovi on Apple Music, Slippery When Wet's the first thing that pops up. You immediately get Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, and Wanted Dead or Alive. Those are on the radio 1,000 times a day.
at least. Well, hey, nothing wrong with that. That's a good. That was a good album. Even though I couldn't stand Bon Jovi back in the day, I loved Wanted Dead or Alive and You Give Love a Bad Name, and I've come to like Living on a Prayer too. So a lot of good pick there.
Richie had to inspire so many players with his use of the talk box in You Give Love. It's unreal. I mean, that put him in a different bracket of guitar player just by doing that alone.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that because I think he never gets the credit he actually deserves.
And great background vocal.
Great.
Yeah. Good pick.
Only Bon Jovi album I've ever heard all the way through.
His
Yeah.
older stuff's really good, though.
Yeah. I was gonna say New Jersey's also pretty good too. And first album, but yeah, New Jersey would probably be the other one I would probably check out.
First album, the only song I remember is Runaway.
Yeah.
Well, that was my introduction to Bon Jovi, and I couldn't stand it.
I didn't even know that was a Bon Jovi song. Honestly, I heard it. What was it? The Bumblebee movie a few years ago, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds really good. What is this?" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Bon Jovi. Oh, nice."
All right,
John, you're up, buddy.
so I may as well just keep going with the shirt motif here. and let's just pull a little Striper out. This is my original copy that I got back in 1986.
That is
Oh.
not the album cover any longer, is it?
No, most of the time when you see this, it's just usually a
The
black,
one.
a plain black one. Now, if you are able to find this, it's probably from Striper's website. Maybe if they've done a version on this with that cover, but mostly if you're going to find it, it's going to be that black cover. But I was already a Striper fan because I had been listening to Soldiers Under Command. This album came out, and I mean the title track, great track, Calling on You, Free. Honestly, the ballad, The Way, Oz's song there, that was a great song. I love the sing along song. Rocking the World, More Than Me. I mean, this is.
Yeah, I listened to that album twice in the last 2 weeks, and it is incredible.
Really
Great.
good.
It's a good album. When I only saw Striper once in concert, and they did a majority of that album live, and it sounded amazing.
Michael has a vocal range it's different than anybody else's.
Yep.
In the metal world, I guess a voice that hasn't been exposed to cigarettes and alcohol and other forms of throat inhibiting problems,
Yeah.
Which is funny because he says he does like the occasional cigar and he does like his bourbon. He doesn't drink it to excess, but he does tend to like it. I think he's had to cut the cigars out because he's had a lot of retinal issues with his eyes. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just gonna get that one out of the way, and that's a good
beautiful
pick.
album. Great pick.
Yeah, I've been thinking about. I've been wanting to dig in a little bit more into Striper after hearing that one because I was like, "Oh, that's really good stuff." And I think Chris Jericho has talked about them a lot.
Yeah, he loves Striper.
On the
Yep.
Jericho loves Striper.
And
Yep.
Who better to listen to when it comes to music than the GOAT himself?
Yep. And I'll tell you what, those last 3 or 4 Striper albums, recent ones, amazing. Really good, heavy albums. Really, really good stuff. So, Ben, number 4. What you got?
Number 4 for me is an album. I mean, we've all heard the song a million times. Everybody's heard the song a million times. As soon as that synth starts off, we're going to Venus and whatnot. But I picked The Final Countdown by Europe as my number 4 album of 1986. I've listened to this whole album all the way through, and Rock the Night is a great song. The ballad Carrie, wonderful song. I don't know anything about the guys in Europe other than this album, and the guitar playing is shred heavy. It's beautiful. It's perfect. I could just imagine lots of pointy Charvel Jackson guitars and big hair everywhere. And
from what I hear, that album is absolutely nothing like the rest of their catalog.
It sounds like this.
From
has
what I
rock
hear,
elements.
the rest of their catalog is better than that album.
Yeah,
I've heard that too.
This album is it's full of glam. It's full of feel good. It's everything that a hair metal album should be.
Right.
And it captures all of that.
Right.
With a lot of, he's got some elements of the 50s and 60s boogie woogie, just straight up rock and roll to it.
Mm-hmm.
Got some swing feel to it. Danger on the Track, great song. Ninja, great song. Cherokee, which I'm sure is like their homage to Run to the Hills or something, great song.
Mm-hmm.
Killer album, man. I couldn't get enough of it.
Good pick. JD,
Yeah,
what you got now?
My number 4, I went with The Ultimate Sin by one Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. I know my experience with Ozzy has been, a lot of the, obviously like the older 80s albums. And this one, I never knew it existed, honestly. And then Ben over here told me I did, or was I heard like I think I heard a song on Pandora. It was like a shot. It was the last track, A Shot in the Dark. And oh my god, I was like, this is Ozzy?
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yep.
Sounds nothing like what came before, and it definitely doesn't sound like anything after, in my opinion. But I started to look into that album a lot more, and just the songs on that one to me are just, I think it's some of Ozzy's like honest best vocals, and just the fact that they did it, like they made this album like 4 months after he got out of rehab.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start out with the title track, The Ultimate Sin, which is a really good way to start off an album like this. And then you go into Secret Loser, really good track as well. But to me, the first half is good, but to me, it really doesn't pick up till maybe about track 5 or 6. But I mean, the whole thing is great. But one track that I love the most that lives in my head is Lightning Strikes. And it's
Great riff.
It's the chorus to me, just to keep rocking all night until the lightning strikes again.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know what it, but it's just every time,
Great
like
chorus.
I'll be, you know, I'm at work and I'm just rocking all night, you know, and yeah, it sticks, and I'm just like, and it's a go-to song, you know, and it's probably my favorite song off the album. Yeah, it's just crazy to me to think that it's just like, I think, to me, I love Bark at the Moon, but I like this one a little bit more, honestly. I think Jakey Lee sounds amazing, like way better. And it's just, it's a shame to me that they just never, that Ozzy never moved forward with him.
Yeah. You know, the thing about Ultimate Sin, why you don't see that a lot and you're not seeing reissues and stuff like that, again, has a lot to do with Sharon. And Shot in the Dark was co-written by Phil Soussan, who played the bass on that album. And apparently they had a bit of a falling out. So you have that. And of course, you have the turmoil with Jake. You know, Randy Castillo's on drums on that one, and he was an absolute monster on that album. But I think that's probably a lot of the reason why you don't see a ton of reissues with this one.
Yeah.
It's just because of all the usual shenanigans that Sharon does with rights and royalties and all that stuff. But it's a great album. When Lightning Strikes, Killer Giants with that great guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, you know,
Sure.
yeah. Some of the lyrical content's a little dated with the "Thank God for the Bomb" and, you know, and stuff like that. But
I think that was probably, to me, the probably the weakest one to me. Cause I mean, it's catchy, but it's like, it's, you take that one out and you still get 8 tracks of just, you know, just like I said,
really
it's
good,
just,
strong album.
Like I said, Ozzy and Jake just at the top of, to me, like the peak of their partnership together.
Yep.
Yeah. I've heard that ticket sales for the Ultimate Sin tour were lower than the previous tour. You know, it wasn't as successful because they only had the one single off of it, Shot in the Dark.
Yeah, that's true.
So they blamed that on Jake. You know, Ozzy's always, I heard a story that Ozzy picked Jake as his second choice to replace Randy. He originally wanted George Lynch, but George Lynch wouldn't come out of Docking to go join him. So he picked Jake as his second choice. Mm-hmm. So they never really meshed. And Jake he's as good as Eddie Van Halen. He's as good as any of the shredders of the 70s and 80s. Yep. Phenomenal player, never gets the credit he deserves.
Yep.
He's up there with David Gilmour and the guys from Maiden as my favorite guitar player in the world. So
yeah, I probably put him down as probably my most underrated.
And one of these days, I'm going to be digging deep into this one because I've been wanting to listen to this again for a long time.
Is that a Ray Gillen on the vocals on that album?
Yep.
Yes.
I'll look into that one. I've heard a lot of that one. I just hadn't taken the time to check that one out yet. So
yeah,
I'll definitely be getting a listen.
So good.
All right, solid pick, JD. Good stuff. Roger, number 4. What you got?
Here's something not shocking from the guy wearing Slayer.
Oh my gosh.
My number 4 is King Diamond, Fatal Portrait.
Yep. That was my introduction to King Diamond.
Yeah. I prefer Merciful Fate, but there's nothing wrong with King Diamond, in my opinion. It's kind of neat how Merciful Fate's kind of just write whatever he wants, and then each King Diamond album tells like a whole story to it. And his guitarist in both bands another, they don't get the credit they deserve.
Yep, I agree. Denner and Sherman were just monsters. I mean, great players. And LaRoque, Andy LaRoque. And I mean, all of those guys are good stuff.
But yeah, it's short and sweet. What like his vocals, he sounds the exact same live too. Even at his age too. I seen him, I think, 10 years ago. And he can still hit all those high notes.
That's crazy.
He's inhuman.
That's crazy to think about. That is very crazy to think about.
Yeah, just to hear like just the way like he'll just go from like singing like this, and all of a sudden like he's like in a whole nother thing. He just constantly, it's like I've been trying to grasp like how does one do that? Like is and just, like the frequency in which he did it on that album to me was just like, and yeah, I heard that one, and with the follow up, was it Abigail? Was that those two? Right now, those are the only two that I've heard. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's good pick. I love good pick there.
Strong
right?
stuff.
Yeah, good one. Some good
Yeah,
stuff.
Fatal Portrait didn't have a story like the rest of the albums would.
Yeah,
but there was a lot of strong songs. I mean, there was. That's a great pick. That's a great pick. So
my wife hates when I play Karen because I do the shriek.
and that's a strong song too. Boy, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great song. It's been a long time since I've listened to that though. But yeah, great pick. Okay, I'm gonna go with my next obvious choice, and then most of everything else will be a little maybe not quite so obvious. Of course, I mean, Inside the Electric Circus. I was listening to Wasp like crazy already at this point. I'm gonna save that for when I do Wasp shows, but I love Inside the Electric Circus. It's gotten a little dated over the years to me now. But
everything Wasp has done has gotten a little bit.
A little bit.
Blackie's out view on the female species.
Yeah, but at least he's gotten better. Unfortunately, that's what everybody wants to hear is all the dated stuff. They don't want to hear him do stuff from Dying for the World or Unholy Terror or Babylon or any of those albums. They want to hear Animal. They want to hear Harder, Faster, Manimal, and all that other stuff. Anyway, this is still a good listen. Uriah, a cover of Uriah Heep's Easy Living, great track. Restless Gypsy, a wonderful track. Love that song. The old Ray Charles, I Don't Need No Doctor. I'm Alive, great track. That's all I got for that. Ben.
Yeah, all right.
Number 3.
Yes. I was gonna say something about Wasp.
But no, go ahead.
That was a great album. Really was. I listened to it a lot. I enjoyed it.
It was good.
I love Blackie. Is just being Blackie. He is what he is. For all of the social justice warriors who've been trying to cancel Metallica after learning about them via Stranger Things, do not research Wasp at all.
No. If they don't cancel them for Animal, they'll cancel them for Golgotha. So because they don't want to listen to him talking about Jesus and how he needs Jesus and Jesus, I need you now kind of thing. Yeah. So go figure.
Yeah. But my number 3 pick, I listened to it today, and again, it's an album that when it ended, I didn't want it to be over. I wanted to listen to it for another 30 minutes, and that is Seventh Star by Black Sabbath.
Great album.
Amazing album. It should not be called Black Sabbath. It should be called Purple Sabbath or something of that nature. Deep Sabbath,
Black Purple or something.
Black Purple. But it was such a powerful song for anybody who bases their opinions on Tony's playing from the first 2 or 3 albums, Masters of Reality, Paranoid, whatnot. He got so much better in a 10-year period. When that album came out in '86, he was on top of his game. Not to mention you had Eric Singer from the Lita Ford Band, future drummer of Kiss, current drummer of Kiss right now on drums. Ray Gillen did a few bonus tracks on vocals, but Glenn Hughes did the album itself. Just very powerful album. Wonderful. And that is my number 3 pick.
Yeah. If Glenn had been off his drugs a little bit and gotten a little bit along better with Tony, man, that could have been a great partnership. I would have loved to have seen carry on.
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved 7 Star. I still love 7 Star. Great album.
Great.
I love the title track. I was just listening to it today in the car.
Oh, In for the Kill.
The riff
In for the
is so
Kill.
catchy.
The opening guitar bend, the string bend on No Stranger to Love.
No Stranger to Love is awesome. Yeah.
Awesome song.
So good.
Yep.
JD, what you got for number 3?
All right. My top 3 obviously is going into the, I guess you can call it the mainstream category.
Okay.
Because, well, they are. But number 3, I'm going with, I have in my notes, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying by Megadeth. Like why not? Like Megadeth's one of my favorite bands. Just when we came up with the idea for the 86, I was like, for sure, I was like, oh yeah, top 3. I've already, that's definitely making top 3 for me. It's, I listened to it again. Was it this morning? I think it was this morning, just to get myself in the mood for it. And I just love that album. It's really, it's, to me, it's obviously, it's one of the iconic albums, and of course you got the big epic title track, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying. Love that song. I don't care. As soon as I hear that, the bass riff kick in, that the I'm like, yep, I'm there for it.
Yep.
Wake Up Dad, to me, this to start it off is just, I like that one too. So it's like it's got the replay value to me. It's just it never lets up.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just, if I had to put it down, I know I might lose a little bit of credit for this because a lot of people have such high regards for Peace Sells. If I was rating the actual Megadeth catalog, it would jump down and be my 3rd favorite. I have 2 others that to me are just to me, it's me alone, or just, but that one for this project, I was like, nah, I'm old Mega Dave, as I like to sometimes call it. Oh, Mega Dave.
Mega Dave,
it has to be in the top 3 to me if you're talking about this certain year.
Who was the lead guitar on that one? Was it Friedman?
Chris Poland.
Chris Poland.
Yeah, Garth Samuelson was on drums. This was basically the lineup for the first 2 albums. That last track, My Last Words, I just love that. That just barrels by. Great track. Good. Devil's Island is another great track from that. Good Morning Black Friday. Really, the only song on this that is kind of a skipper for me, and it's always been a skipper, was his cover of I Ain't Superstitious. That's actually the only song on this I would consider that I usually skip most of the time, because I just it's hokey.
Yeah,
I would just like to point out I had no idea that was a cover until now.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't think I did either.
It's an old Willie Dixon song. So
yeah, I don't know. Just give me thrash. I don't want to hear Dave doing somebody else. No, just give me the anger that you're still pissed off and getting kicked out of Metallica.
Yep. I thought you were talking about the Stevie Wonder song.
No.
But no, I
just Megadeth went there. Was Dave Elfson the bassist on that?
Yeah. He was there for all the way.
He was there for quite a while.
Long time, and then he was out from.
He was out like around The System Has Failed in a couple of albums.
Yeah, 2002, when like the band disbanded because of Mustaine like injuring his hand and he couldn't play, so they went like a couple years, and so
took a break.
He did like 3 albums with couple different bass players, and then he came back in for, and then went on forever. And then Dave was like, "Nope, I'm kicking you out again because
No,
you did what you
we
did."
we don't need to go into why he's not in the band.
Yeah, that's true. It just I hated that. the
Yeah,
whole
I did too,
situation but the new album so far, the 3 tracks they put out for that new album.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
I've only heard one of them. I haven't heard 3 of them yet. But I
They're
have heard the one.
really good. They're
really
some of
good.
the best
Cool.
stuff
Really,
he's done in
really
years.
good. Like
Cool.
Dave, Dave himself just sounds. He just sounds better than he has in a while. I don't know if he's I mean, it's got he's got the sound, but it's different. It sounds like now he's done something to make it where he doesn't have to put so much strain on his voice anymore. So it
Yeah,
kind of
maybe.
sounds more like to me, like his vocals sound like more like the 80s, like circa maybe P Sales era to me,
Right.
because but no, I'm looking forward to it when the album drops.
Yeah, I am
soon.
too. I've got it pre-ordered, so I'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
Roger, number 3. What you got for me?
Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time.
I knew that was going to come up
Obvious.
at some point.
Like title track. Why am I? Jeez. The first song. Why am I so just? This is going to be
It's
funny.
almost a title track.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
almost a title track. You're good.
Almost a title track.
Yeah. Anyway, wasted years, and probably the greatest song they haven't played live. Alexander the Great.
Right.
Yes, somebody out there finally agrees with me about that
Oh,
song.
I think a lot of people do.
I love that song.
But yeah, great pick, Roger. Definitely a great pick. I mean, I just
Instead of
absolutely
Madness.
love to see it. Yeah, Sea of Madness, Stranger in a Strange Land, and Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Heaven Can Wait. But Wasted Years, my God, that is just magic. And the B-sides that for the singles were awesome on that
those
album
were
too.
good.
Love that stuff. So obviously very solid pick. So
Anybody that travels for a career, Wasted Years is your anthem.
yep. Or sometimes just life and just thinking back on life in general.
Yeah.
Because
That's what that is to me.
we all just let life get. There's so much we wish we could have done in life, and we let it pass us by sometimes. So absolutely solid pick. So okay, now I'm gonna start getting a little off the beaten path a little bit. So my number 3 is somebody that I absolutely fell in love with and still am to this day. Warlock. True as Steel. Lead vocalist Doro Pesh. There's the band on the back. You can kind of see there. Yeah. This was my introduction to the German singer Doro Pesh. And this is a wonderful album. Very German sounding. Starts off with a great track, Mr. Gold. Fight for Rock, another great anthem. Love in the Danger Zone, great track. Midnight in China, there's got a breakdown with a little musical interlude at the end that I just really gets infectious to me. Vorwärts, I don't know how to speak German. All right, that's a great track. Very speedy song. True as Steel, another great anthemic song. Lady in a Rock and Roll Hell, great track. Love song, nice ballad. This album, I just love listening to. I just love Doro. The guitar players in this band, Peter Zighetti and a guy named Nico is all he goes by. This was just a solid band, and I've loved listening to Doro over the years. I also subscribe to her Patreon page, and I've been known to get a few nice little stuff in the mail from her. And it's 35 years I've been listening to Doro, and I just love her. So Warlock, True as Steel.
I just downloaded 3 of their albums.
Okay, because now Doro has a much more extensive solo career, because they only did one more album as Warlock, which was Triumph and Agony. Triumph and Agony. And then after that, for various reasons, then Doro just kind of went solo, and she's just done a solo career ever since. But she's got a lot of pretty good stuff. And I'm gonna be trying to do some deep dives into her catalog, because I have her catalog. So I know I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive. So
Nice.
Okay, Ben, what you got for number 2?
Number 2, I have his number 4 pick, Ozzy Osbourne, The Ultimate Sin.
Okay.
No surprise there. I'm a huge Ozzy fanatic. Funny story, this being the last album with Jakey Lee, there was actually talks, interactions between the Osbourne camp to bring Jake back in to the Scream album, because that's where they brought in Gus G from Firewind. Ozzy and Zach were having a bit of a falling out, as parents do with their children sometimes. So Zach stepped away, and they, instead of bringing in a new, like Ozzy's typical formula, finding the newest, hottest, youngest shredder and bring him on board, he reached out to Jake. And if this is all rumor, legend that I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I heard. They reached out to Jake for the Scream album. But the Ultimate Sin, killer album. I love the title track, love Shot at the Dark. I love, even as campy as it is, Thank God for the Bomb. I love Secret Loser. It's a great, all in all, just a great album. Ozzy's vocals were really good. Jake's playing's really good. Can't beat it. It, for the album that comes next, No Rest for the Wicked, this one is far and wide superior to that one.
I would agree. Funny story I read about Shot in the Dark. So I don't know if you've ever tried to learn to play the song, but the song has an odd tuning. Okay. I think the E string is tuned up to F sharp. And when you try to play the riff, you'll understand why he did it that way. Jake said he would go watch bands play that song in like bars, and they would all play in standard tuning. And he said it would absolutely make him cringe.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that hurts.
I think it's because he uses those chromatics, for the intro.
Probably.
And if you're tuned up or tuned down a little bit.
Well, the riff that I'm talking about is the down that one. The reason he tunes that low E string down or up to F sharp, tunes it up, is for that. It's just an easier way to play the riff. And he said watching people doing it in standard tuning was painful. So
he was so, we keep talking about him,
Yeah.
If you want to see how good he really is, nobody on earth has ever played Bark at the Moon the right way.
I would agree with that.
Watch Zach play it. Watch any of the players on YouTube nobody plays it the right way.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
He's in a league of his own. There's something. Ozzy made the right call bringing him in, and just like I said, it just stinks the fact that they never, like,
Yeah, Jake said he was at his house working on a car when he heard on the radio that Ozzy was releasing a new album, the No Rest for the Wicked album. He never even got a call for it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Anyway, that's my number 2.
All right. JD, what's your number 2?
All right. My number 2. Now, a few years ago, this one would have been number 1, but number 1 came in, and but Ben thought that this one was the number 1, but no, I'm going with Master of Puppets from Metallica. You talk about 1986, you got to bring up Master of Puppets. That's just how I feel.
Yep.
You just bring up, it's metal, thrash metal in general. That's to me, that's a go-to. You say thrash, I go Master of Puppets. You say Metallica, I go Master of Puppets. That's, to me, it's perfect album, start to finish, wonderful. Kicks off with that really like it throws me like the first time I heard all the way through, so that the acoustic opening threw me off because I was like, what? You know, like I thought these guys, you know, but after it goes on and it just lets up and it just does not stop. It's nonstop thrash to me. You know, I personally favorite thrash album that's ever been done. Favorite Metallica album. You know, like I said, you know, then of course you got the title track, which, you know,
Probably the only song off that album I've listened to.
love the title track, and I love the
Don't
fact
shake your head at me,
that-
Roger.
that you know, that the song now will forever be known for Stranger Things. And to me, I don't, that's fine with me. Stranger Things is my favorite show, and it's, why not? And just
Sure.
the fact that they used that song and just love it. And the whole scene with it is beautiful. And the actor that played Eddie Munson, Mr. Joseph Gwynn, the fact that this man took the time to learn it, to play it, and just amazing. It just goes to show that just, you know, like, you know, and like, and you know, I could talk about this album for forever, you know. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the third
you
track,
know-
the thing that should not be about Cthulhu, just, you know,
Great track.
Sanitarium. God, just, if Master of Puppets was not on Master of Puppets, Sanitarium would be my favorite. It's, you know, would be the favorite off of that one to me. But it just, like I said, it doesn't let up, and it's them at their peak. It's, you know, obviously, you know, it's the last one with Clive on it before he passed, and you know, and it's just like it's
Cliff or Clive?
it's Cliff.
Cliff.
My bad. I apologize for that.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just like I said, just they peaked. It's like everything after it, to me, I've followed, you know, like everybody else has, but to me, it's like I don't think anything's ever gonna do it.
No. You know,
You know?
and here again, this is where the metal dad comes in, because, you know, I remember when Master of Puppets was big, and when it came out in '86, and, you know, and I loved it. And there for a long time, I thought I kind of liked Ride the Lightning more than I liked Master of Puppets. I feel like over time, Master of Puppets is definitely probably my favorite Metallica album. And I think the reason why is because I think Escape and the Call of the Cthulhu instrumental, I think, is what brings them down for me on that album. I never was a big fan of that instrumental for whatever reason. It's okay, it's good, but that one just didn't impact me quite the way Orion does.
Oh yeah,
That to me was a great instrumental. Escape is okay. It's not a great track, but in my opinion, the second side of Master of Puppets with Disposable Heroes and Leper Messiah, and of course that crushing Damage Incorporated.
Definitely.
I'm not going to quote the lines because it's not me, but there are lines in that song that I swear was my motto at the time of when I was 16 years old, and that album, and I was listening to that album. So it's in the last verse. I won't say the words and I won't mention the verse, but you can kind of imagine, because that would have been me about 16, 17 years old. So there you go.
Funny thing that I read this today about the I want to say it's the thing that should not be. I think I read Kirk Hammett himself as when, and I think it was in a Martin Popoff book, was I think Rush album by albums, that Kirk has even said that one of the riffs in the song was inspired by Rush's Jacob's Ladder.
That's interesting.
Nice.
I think I've actually read that too.
Yeah, I just thought that was, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like never in a million years what I would have thought to put, you know, those two. But I Rush it, you know, like I said, it just goes to show you that Rush can inspire even the thrashiest of dudes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Why are you shaking your head at that?
Why then?
I'm not a huge Rush or a huge Metallica fan.
I'm
sorry.
trying slowly, like every other day.
We'll
I'm
get-
sending
we'll get
this
him then.
guy. I'm sending this guy so many Rush tracks. I'm like, you don't have to listen to the 70s if you don't want to. I will get you listen to Moving Pictures, listen to Red Barchetta.
I get laughed at all the time because the only Metallica album I've ever really listened to a lot was Reload. I love
And
that.
I have never listened to that album. I've never listened to Load, Reload, or Saint Anger.
Well, Saint Anger. Oh,
Guilty
We won't go
pleasure.
there. And I've never listened to Lulu either. But
I
anyway,
love Reload.
yeah,
Great album.
interesting. All right, Roger, what you got number 2?
well, this is obvious. Here, my only prop: Slayer, Rain and Blood. That song. Or I can't even speak right now because of how that album. I remember the first time I heard Rain and Blood. I'm like, what the hell is that intro? And then I downloaded the CD. Yeah, Lars was right about Napster, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. 100%. Anyway, the scream that Tom does at the beginning of Angel of Death is a literal
Iconic.
throat punch, like the whole album for the whole short 34 minutes that it is. There is
Yep.
not a bad track on that album, in my opinion. Some of Jeff's best work.
I agree.
You might be surprised to know that I've never listened to that album.
That's not surprising.
I was telling JD a while ago, you were talking about King Diamond, and I'm like, everything about thrash scares the crap out of me. I don't know.
Wait till you see my honorable mentions I'm going to go into.
My
Yeah.
music would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well-
a good Methodist boy who was born and raised in church my entire life.
Well, let me tell you something. My introduction to Slayer was the Live Undead album, or EP. So that was like, and the version that my friend had was half live, half studio. And it took me a while to get into it. I eventually did, and then I picked up Hell Awaits, and that was like that one really goes into a different level.
Yeah.
But then when Rain and Blood came out, and I got the cassette, I popped it in, and I'm just thinking, all right, I can't wait to, and I got to the end of the album, and I was like, and I was gonna flip it over. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, this is the same thing. It's the same thing on both sides. Man, I was thinking it was gonna be this much longer album, and I'm like, oh man, it's so short. I was kind of disappointed, but my God, Angel of Death, when that thing kicks off.
Yeah. Just that, like Roger said, just that wail that he does. It's on par with the scream that Bruce hits in Number of the Beast. That it's like he did it that one time in the just never been able to replicate it ever since.
No, he's never been able to replicate that one live. But
yeah, I get what you're saying, John, about that one. As I remember listening to it the very first time, like I said, you start off, and you want it to be longer, but then again, Slayer were they quick, short, to the point. Like that was that back then. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I thought it was but I mean, yeah, honorable mention for me for sure. But like I said, just it started out with Angel of Death and ending with Rain and Blood. Everything else in the middle, and not too much for me. But I mean, I see why that album is like the classic and it's
oh yeah,
as it is.
absolutely. I mean, gosh, just the way Altar of Sacrifice segues into Jesus
That's
Saves.
true. Yeah.
That just to me was, I mean, I love that slow, crunchy riff at the beginning of Jesus Saves. Altar of Sacrifice is that really good thrashy, Necrophobic just blows by you so quickly, as
That's
does
true.
piece by piece. Modulistic Terror of a vast sadistic beast. That there's only one way out of here, and that's going piece by piece. I mean, come on, I haven't listened to that song in ages, and I can still probably recite the whole song. but that's how much I listened to it back then. So
Yeah.
great pick,
it's like
Roger. Fantastic pick, Roger. Good stuff.
I'm pretty sure that is actually Slayer's shortest album too.
I think
it is. It is because Hell Awaits was about 7 or 8 minutes longer with less songs, and I think like South of Heaven and Seasons in the Abyss were closer to 35 to 40.
40-minute range.
It's about like Iron Maiden's first 2 records.
Yep. All right. My number 2 that I'm going to go with. So we talked about a band or a little earlier. You guys made mention of this band that lost their bass player. Well, then they got the bass player from this band, Flotsam and Jetsam. Doomsday for the Deceiver. Oh my goodness gracious. When I got this thing and I heard these tracks and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, Jason Newsted is a crazy good bass player. You know, there's a lot of songs. Yeah, he's got the Steve Harris gallop going on, but he was also a good songwriter. He had some great tracks, epics like Doomsday for the Deceiver, the title track, Metal Shock, Der Fuhrer, all 3 epic tracks, awesome songs. Hammerhead, quick, punchy stuff. Iron Tears, punchy, quick, thrashy. Desecrator, Fade to Black. She Took an Axe. ULSW in the instrumental Flotzilla. Just a punishing album. And Eric AK on vocals, stellar voice, and he has not lost a step. The rest of the band's kind of changed a little bit over the years, but man, and their last couple albums are absolutely amazing. I highly recommend go checking them out. Blood on the Water. I can't think of the name of the previous album prior to that, but my goodness, Flotsam and Jetsam are still kicking tail into the 2020s. But Doomsday for the Deceiver is where it all started off, and that's where I got to hear of this guy named Jason Newsted. And when he joined Metallica, I thought, oh wow, this could be really interesting.
We saw that one.
I think he was too artistic for the Metallica machine.
I feel like
probably.
I think like just my thinking about it is I feel like James and Kurt were all in on his ideas, but Lars is like, no guys, it's my band. It's my band. I put my foot down in the final say.
Yep.
And it's just like, you're not even a good drummer. There, I said it.
I think they just wanted
Okay, I'm gonna jump in now. Lars may suck, but he gives Metallica exactly what they need.
That's true.
In the song,
He does.
He does.
He does.
Just
He's
a lot
like
of snare and hi-hat.
I mean,
like Metallica, they're one of my favorite bands, and I love them to death. I do. Like I love, and and I love the fact that they're still going at the same time. It's like you guys have been active since the 80s, and you've only got these very few albums to show for it. And it's like you peaked in the 80s, and then you're trying to get that, and then you get like the mainstream success in the 90s and stuff like that. But it's like, and then, you come back to your sound and with, what was it, Death Magnetic in 2008. Like, to me, everything past and Justice for All is like iffy with me. I do have a soft spot for Saint Anger. I don't know what it is about it. I guess just knowing so much about that.
You must like Garbage Cans.
Here, hold on.
I try not to focus on the garbage can sound. I just focus on more of the actual like music, because I'm a big fan of Hetfield. I love James Hetfield, like one of my favorite like rhythm guitar players. Guys can play guitar and can cut out a solo when he needs to. And I listen to it, and I listen to Metallica and still do, mainly just because I like James Hetfield so much. I love the guy. He's to me, he's a great front man. He's, grant all the stuff that they're trying to get him canceled. I was back when he was young, didn't know any better. Stuff, whatever, all that stuff. But it's just like he's a good guy. He just wants to just live his life
That's right.
and just play his Metallica music. And I think to me that's why I still, the last two albums that Metallica had put out, Death Magnetic and Hardwired, or I like those two albums. They're really good, pretty solid.
Mhm.
They would, if I were to rank it, they probably would be like 80s, and then those albums and everything else would kind of just fall flat at the bottom.
Probably.
But yeah,
All right.
it's good.
All right, guys. Let's hear your number one, Ben. Let's go.
All right, so
Pink Floyd did not do an album in '86.
No, they didn't. No, they
Rush
didn't.
didn't either. I checked.
No, and I'm not trying to crap on any band that released an album in '86, because this whole podcast, this whole thing that we do here, the message is that all metal, all hard rock is beautiful and should be appreciated equally. That's the point of all of it.
Facts.
But my personal favorite album from 1986 is Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden. Shocker, I know. Master of Puppets did not make my top 5. I love the metal that has a tinge of pop to it. I guess you could call it that. More polished, more glam, whatever. That's me. That's what I love. And Somewhere in Time hits every one of those checkpoints for me. It's got the synthesizers, it's got the heavy effect guitars, it's got the glam to it, it's got everything. And if you don't get fired up when you hear that bass intro of Stranger in a Strange Land and know that something big is about to hit you right in the face, you're not listening to it the right way.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
my number one pick, Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden.
All right. Good stuff. JD.
All right.
What-
The moment of truth, guys. Number one album, 1986. Turbo by Judas Priest. Just kidding. I'm joking. I had to throw in the little good. No, it's Somewhere in Time. Like Ben just said himself. Is it a shocker? When we put together this list, I'd already had, the number one in mind because, it's Maiden. It's Maiden.
Of course.
Favorite band ever. So anytime if they release an album and in the time period, to me, it's going to be the best. But yeah, let Ben say everything about it. Like, to me, like, perfect definition of a perfect album. Just
Yep.
Start to finish, wonderful, amazing, and just the band, like we talked about when we did the
Album.
when we did our album openers, and what you said, the band were exhausted, but they do what Maiden does best. Even though they were dead tired, they pulled it out and they put out some of their best with songwriting, guitar playing, bass playing. Bruce just sounds wonderful on it.
He
I
does.
love and just you started out with we call it Somewhere in Time, and it's just, like I said, my favorite, Maiden album opener, so it makes sense. It makes my favorite.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just everything about the whole album, just all killer, no filler. You start out with that, you end with Alexander the Great, which, granted, yes, the lyrics do sound like Steve Harris basically just looked at Alexander the Great on the Wikipedia page and was like, all right, guys, I got a song here. But the lyrics, to me, it's that song. It's not what the guitar, like just everything about it's good. Yeah, just the whole album is just wonderful, perfect. I love it. No, you can't,
For a band who just did 189 shows in 11 months to
True.
walk into the studio and produce something of this quality is insane.
Yep. I would agree. Great
Roger,
pick.
your turn. You picked Somewhere in Time too.
He already did, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like 3 or 4.
That was number 3 for
Yeah, it was
me.
number 3.
Yeah. No, mine's obviously Metallica, Master of Puppets. Which, what can I say that's hasn't already been said by John? Other than he didn't mention Disposable Heroes, which is the fastest song.
Great
on
song,
that
though.
album.
Yes.
And it is great, and they do not play that enough live. And they started playing it recently because Rob wanted to play it and started bugging the crap out of them. Metallica is my favorite band. This actually, though, is my 4th favorite Metallica album.
Oh,
Behind Reload.
no, St. Anger's is number 1, obviously.
Lulu.
I Am a Table. And I am one person that actually listened to that album. And
I've
that
never
is
listened to Lulu.
actual lyrics from that album. I Am the Table.
Oh yeah,
wow.
Metallica did an album with what was it, Lou Reed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Velvet
like where
Underground.
Metallica just played the music and Lou Reed just sang.
No,
And it-
James Hetfield did some.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've
It
never
was
listened to it,
terrible.
so
I
yeah.
never heard
It
it.
was
I never heard
terrible.
it. I heard like it's
I do really like their version of Tuesday's Gone with John Popper from Blues Traveler in it.
oh yeah, that
From
covers
the,
album
Garage,
they did
from the
had
Garage Inc. album.
had some really good.
He does he do that with Pepper Keenan too? Or is that another song? I'm trying to
I don't remember that Garage Inc. that well.
I remember like the very few ones that still like kind of play them.
Whiskey
on
in the
the-
Jar.
Yeah, Whiskey in the Jar. I love that one. A huge fan of their cover of the Bob Seger track.
Turn the Page.
Turn the Page. Yeah, I've grown to listen to the Metallica covers so much that if I hear the Bob Seger one on the radio, I literally turn off the radio and hook my phone. I was like, no, I got to do the Metallica one because I don't know. It's just to me the tempo. It's like I'm driving down the road saying, no, I want that fast, a little bit upbeat tempo as I'm driving down.
Oh, Metallica made that song just almost like a bad street corner vibe kind of thing, man. They really just
Bob Seger's mad at that.
I
Really?
can imagine.
He
I can
actually
imagine.
came out and said that years ago how he hates the cover and wishes they never covered it, and it was about something completely different than what they made it. Because the
Yeah.
video is about go watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, they're
Yeah,
like in
it's-
that like frat house or something.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it's-
No, that
That's
the frat
just-
house. What you're thinking of, it's Whiskey in the Jar.
Yeah. I don't
Turn
think I
the
ever. I
Page
don't think
was,
I ever saw the
yeah.
Turn the Page music video.
But yeah.
It's dark. It's really dark.
Very
what
dark.
Do you expect? What do you expect? Is it's the '90s Metallica. They're like, we're still dark, guys. We're just pop now.
But speaking of them for a sec, they're really good at covering songs. Like really good. They're Merciful Fate medley. They're Dio medley.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Their
Mhm.
Misfits cover of Die Die My Darling, which I like more than the Misfits version. And I love the Misfits. What
Yeah.
else? When a Blind Man Cries, the soul
Oh, that was good.
does.
They're Remember Tomorrow.
They're Remember Tomorrow.
They Remember
was epic.
Tomorrow was oh my gosh was
so good.
wonderful.
Well, let's think about the cover that got them the one cover that got them the notice of say, hey, wow, these guys are really paying some tribute. And that's Am I Evil?
Yeah, that's
That's a very early cover that they would release. And man, they
was good.
paid tribute to Diamond Head big time on that song.
That was I like that
So-
one. That's really good.
The singer said that that cover's paid for his whole
I can imagine. I can easily imagine. But yeah. All right, solid stuff. So all right. Now the Metal Dad is going to show off I'm just going to go blow through a bunch of little honorable mentions before I give
This
my
is
number
gonna be
one.
the most obscure number one in the history of number ones.
It might.
Hey, I probably have heard of it though.
All right, what do you got?
So I'm just going to go. This is just a lot of stuff that I was listening to in 1986 that some still stuff I listen to today. You guys mentioned Turbo and laughed at it. Well, you know what? I have a soft spot for Turbo. Reckless. The song Reckless is probably one of my top 5 Judas Priest songs. It was the first track I heard from this album, and I still love it to this day. I love Out in the Cold. I love Turbo Lover. I think that's a great album. The Pack is Back by Raven. I love the title track. Maybe the rest of it is a little iffy here and there. They do an odd version of Give Me Some Lovin', the old Spencer Davis song. But this isn't a bad album. It's a little more poppy, a little lightweight for Raven, but I still kind of dig it. I just love the title track. We've already mentioned Peace Sells, so I'm going to go there. Tony McAlpine, Edge of Insanity, Shrapnel Records. This guy was a shredder along the lines of Yngwie Malmsteen. Great sound. I love what this guy does. Sticking with the shredders, Racer X with Paul Gilbert, Street Lethal with that opening song Frenzy, which is maybe his homage to Eruption with the crazy ridiculousness that is there.
Paul Gilbert is nothing but ridiculousness.
This is true.
So good. So good.
Couple of albums that I've discovered late, but I know they came out in 86. You can't really see this one well. It's Picture. Every story needs another picture. So Picture is an early, probably one of the first Dutch heavy metal bands. I've only kind of gotten into them in like the last couple of years. This album was probably a little bit more on the lightweight side, but it's still a pretty solid album. For all the Christian metal folks, Barren Cross, Rock for the King is a pretty good album. Bride with their debut album Show No Mercy. Now, now we get into some obscure stuff. I don't have physical copies, so I actually printed off the copies of the covers. Sentinel Beasts, Depths of Death. Sentinel Beast, lead singer Debbie Gunn, kind of a shouty, raspy singer. They did a song called Dogs of War that was really cool. They also do a pretty good version of Phantom of the Opera from the first Maiden album. Little faster, but it's still a pretty good track. Banshee. This was an EP called Cry in the Night. They had a track on this called We Want You. I think is a great track. Rest of this album is also really good too. Highly suggest looking that one up. Kirith Ungol, One Foot in Hell, with the leadoff track Blood and Iron. Great track. Kirith Ungol, the guy's got an interesting voice. Not for everybody, but they are a powerhouse band. Hallows Eve, Death and Insanity. This had a song called Lethal Tendencies, a very sludgy, just a grinding kind of a track with a little speed in there too. But these guys also did some speed metal, a little bit of thrash, a little bit of punky sound. We go back to some shredders with Vinnie Moore, Mind's Eye. Vinnie Moore now would be in UFO, our current version of UFO. This is a really good album. I really enjoy this one. I think Billy Sheehan's on bass on this one, and Tommy Aldridge is on drums. Lizzie Borden, Murderous Metal Roadshow. This album took this band a lot of balls to put out a live album after only having a studio album and an EP, and they're putting out a live album right after it. But this is a really good live album. I highly recommend that one. This one's going to be a little obscure. Cities, Annihilation Absolute. Now, how do I know about this band? Well, I was a Twisted Sister fan. AJ Pero would eventually leave Twisted Sister after Come Out and Play, and he went back to his band before Twisted Sister, which was Cities. Kind of a power metal, a little bit of thrash, a little speed, real heavy, good singing voice. One song that I really like was a song called Burn Forever. Hard to find though on CD. You'll probably have to listen to it on YouTube, but I highly recommend it. Really good album. This one, Predator, Easy Prey. Brian Slagle of Metal Blade calls this his probably the worst album cover in Metal Blade discography, and it's easy to see why.
Yeah.
Very a little bit of shredding, a little bit of power metal, a little bit of thrash, but a pretty good album actually. Album cover aside, worth checking
I
out.
thought Smell the Glove by Spinal Tap was the worst album cover ever.
Well, they did make it to pastel black, so you know.
None more black.
Come on, Trick or Treat, Fastway, the soundtrack for this movie. If you've never watched the movie Trick or Treat, just look for it. It's kind of a fun movie, pays a lot of homage to some good metal, but this soundtrack is killer.
Fastway's glam metal, right?
Kind of a bluesy
I think
rock.
I've actually heard of them.
Yeah, that soundtrack was killer though. Heretic, Torture Knows No Bounds. This would be a band. Eventually, their first full-length album would feature a guy named Mike Howe, who would eventually then go on to sing for Metal Church on Blessing in Disguise. This 5-song EP though has a different singer. There's a song on there called Whitechapel. Great track about Jack the Ripper. Very melodic metal. Good strong stuff. All right, a little bit of German metal. Destruction with Eternal Devastation.
I've heard of them. They're great.
This is a great album. I love the intro, Curse the Gods. To me, that's a great song. Eternal Band's another great song. If you like your German thrash, there's a German like Big Four, and Destruction would certainly be a part of that. Creator, probably Sodom, and maybe Running Wild. I'm not sure who the other fourth one would be in the German thrash metal, but
Destruction just released an album this past
they
April.
did. They did. They're still going strong. It's pretty much Scheimer's the only original guy left. I think everybody else is left, but
They're actually done soon too. I think they're on their last tour, they said.
Interesting. Detente. This is another one. Recognize No Authority. Very speed metal, very thrashy. Female lead singer, Dawn Crosby, kind of a shouty singer. But the song Holy War is just amazing. I love the solo breakdown in that song. Ross Robinson played in this band. He would go on to produce Slipknot and a couple of other bands along that line. So, and then there's probably a gazillion more. Hurricane, Take What You Want. That's another band that Kelly Hansen now is the singer in Foreigner. Jay Schellen, the drummer, now probably took over for Alan White and Yes. Tony Cavazzo and something Sarzo is Rudy Sarzo's brother. I can't think of his name, but and then James Cavazzo or Tony Cavazzo was Carlos Cavazzo's brother from Quiet Riot. Great band. Another one I would love, highly recommend. Last one, Crimson Glory. These guys with the crazy masks on their face, just an absolute classic in prog metal. Just a great album from start to finish. By the third album, they would kind of go in a really weird direction and do more of a bluesy hard rock, but it was still a really good album. Midnight, unfortunately, the singer is no longer with us, but solid album. Transcendence is their second album, also a very good album. Okay, all that to say, what album do I still listen to this day from 1986?
Poison.
You know me so well. Actually, it's Cinderella Night Songs. No, and man, there's so many more. There's really so many more that I was looking at. I could spend all day talking about 1986, but we've actually already talked about this. Fate's Warning. I still love listening to Awaken the Guardian, and I absolutely kick myself for not having gotten tickets about 6 years ago when this era came and played at I think it's Keep It True Prague Power over in Atlanta. And this in 2016, these guys came back and they played this album in its entirety. And
Wow.
I absolutely kick myself for not having gotten tickets to go to see that show. Because you can buy it. You can buy us on I think through Metal Blade or probably from Amazon. And you can watch both the Prague Power show and Keep It True in its entirety, because they only did the show twice. And then they do a couple of extra Fates Warning songs from the John Arch era. And I thought John Arch sounded really good on those albums, on those shows. If you get to listen to the Arch Matthews albums, please do. Amazing albums. John Arch is just an underrated vocalist. Guardian is probably like a top 10 song for me. I absolutely love that song. Prelude to Ruin was actually my introduction to Fates Warning. I heard it on a compilation called Best of Metal Blade Volume 2. So yes, you'll notice a lot of these bands I mentioned were from Metal Blade. I was a huge Metal Blade fan at the time. So I was listening to a lot of stuff. I also was listening to Trouble, another band called Thrust that had a song called Posers Will Die. Warlord, of course, you've heard me talk about Warlord on other shows. I could keep going and going and going, but with Fates Warning, I was listening to it heavy then. I still listen to it quite a bit now. So
Fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you for introducing me to Fates Warning. About a year ago, me and you were talking, and you told me about Fates Warning, because I was, had listened through the entire Maiden catalog and was like, I need something that sounds kind of like Maiden to get me through.
Mm-hmm.
And you recommended Fates Warning.
Yep.
And then he turned around and did the same to me. He shot me a message. He was like, dude, you should check this out.
So,
so it was
connect the dots for me. How does Fates Warning connect to A to Z?
Okay, so A to Z, which one of these days we should do a review of this album.
Love that.
Good
So good.
So Ray Alder, who sings on this, is the current Fates Warning singer. He took over for John Arch after this album. And his first album with him was called No Exit. Has this long epic track called Ivory Gate of Dreams. Also has a great song called Anarchy Divine, Silent Cries. Just an absolutely great album. Mark Zonder, who played on this, would eventually join Fates Warning after the No Exit album. So that's where the connection is there. So where they get the other guys, Philip Bino played with Mark Zonder in Warlord for the Holy Empire album and the tour. He also plays in Steve Vai's band. So, Philip Bino's been all over the place. So that's how he got to play bass on this. I don't know the connection with the other two, how they got into there, but my God, this is
so good.
So good.
Wow.
So good. Beautiful.
Great album. So that's how you connect the dots for Fates Warning and how they get to there.
Also,
all right, who's got some honorable mentions?
all of my honorable mentions that I really had, other than possibly Look What the Cat Dragged In.
That's actually my honorable mention. I love Poison. I don't care. I'll admit to.
No,
it actually is a good album. I'll say it.
Yeah,
I would like to say though, Unskinny Bob is the worst chorus I have ever heard in any glam or metal.
Agreed.
Oh,
I want to know who Poison's sound engineer was in the studio, the producer, because CC sounded amazing on record, but for some reason there was a miscommunication to live, pulling off those things in the studio.
Got nothing on that one. I never saw Poison live, so I can't answer that. But
I do like some Poison. Also, Striper, To Hell with the Devil, great, phenomenal album. We've already talked about that. I think that's about all. Let me look through my 86 list.
While he's doing that, The Dark by Metal Church. That one was really good.
That was one of
I
them.
did like that one.
Yes,
I
that
did
was
like that one.
definitely.
We watch the children
That was really
pray.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about Metal Church, but like I said, when we were doing this, when we came up with this, I had like a list of
Yeah.
albums from '86. Now it's just breezing through, just like
Yeah.
check this, not check, like listen to this.
and I
one.
really love that the opening track, "Ton of Bricks."
Ton of Bricks is a great track.
Great song.
David
Surprised,
David Wayne, the singer, is no longer with us, but man, he had a great voice on those first two albums.
surprised nobody mentioned Motorhead.
That's was going to be my honorable mention.
I
One of
tried
them.
to listen to Sepultura for about a minute, and I got scared and
Yeah, I couldn't either. I got through like because the first track was it was like an instrumental like melody thing, and then it led into it was like, yeah, no, can't do it. Just something about the black metal genre. Me just right now just don't. I haven't found the thing to click with that
Yeah.
that genre yet.
can't believe
I never got into black metal. That was one era or one style of music I just never could. I just couldn't take seriously.
I've got a coworker who is really into it. He's he's like recommended a couple bands, and I can't remember the names, but I've checked. No, that's good, but it's just I don't know. It's just
I
I
respect
respect
metal.
I respect it. I do I respect it for but it's just it's
Wow.
not
Yeah,
like I said, I haven't found that right.
When I heard early when I say black metal, I was hearing early stuff. So I would be you're thinking like Venom or Bathory or bands like that, and
Celtic
those
Frost.
Celtic Frost,
Celtic
yeah.
Frost.
A lot of those albums though suffered from awful
Yeah, that's true.
production.
Ugh,
So
Venom.
yeah.
I
Just like
can't listen to that.
I couldn't take them seriously. There's just no way I could listen to that stuff and take it
Yeah.
seriously.
Dark Angel is one of my honorable mentions for.
That was a good
Darkness
album.
to Sin.
That
It was good. Like we talked about in the chat, the production was garbage.
Yeah.
It was like it was recorded in somebody's mom's garage or something onto a cassette recorder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was, I mean, you could tell there was a lot of things that Metallica would borrow from them.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
what you said, John. Yeah, I had Doomsday and the Deceiver as an honorable mention. I thought that one was, and I thought that one was oh man, that was just so good. I guess also the Striper album was
that one right there.
Fight for the Rock
Fight for the
by
Rock.
Sabotage. I thought that
Yeah.
one was pretty good. I like the Final Countdown. I think what Ben said about the Final Countdown. I only Europe song that obviously that I ever knew was the title track, and then listeners like, wow, not every song sounds like that on that album itself, but it's just but it's just everybody's just gotten like, oh, Europe, they got the Final Countdown. That's obviously what they sound like, and
Glam metal is still metal.
yeah.
Me,
That's all-
I had Game Over, and that was by Nuclear Assault.
Oh yeah.
Obscure metal band for you.
Yeah. Hey, Dan Lilker.
That's-
Dan Lilker was originally Anthrax bass player, played in Stormtroopers of Death. Yeah. Good pick.
Possessed Beyond the Gates.
Mm-hmm.
Who Death kind of stole their style a little bit. And I love Death, but
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Void. We'll call that Roar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw that title, that's on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of thought like Beavis and Butthead kind of thing. Just Beavis just roar.
And that's
I'll tell you what, Voivod, man, they're like deities up in Canada, though. Man, they're very well known up in Canada.
They
But
are.
Yeah, I love that. Like that there's those like Canadian thrash bands that not a whole lot of that like what's is it Annihilator? Ain't that what they're called?
Annihilator, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep, Jeff
discovered
Waters.
them. Yeah, I discovered them over the last like year and a half or so, and I'm like, wow, it's some, and it's the fact that they're still going and putting out some really good stuff too, and I'm just like,
He's changed the band around a lot. It's
that's
the main
true.
guy.
Yeah,
The main guy is Jeff Waters, but the
Yeah.
band has changed a lot. But
yeah, it's like he's like,
Yeah.
I want to do guitar, I want to sing, I want to do guitar, so I just do guitar, and I want to sing and do guitar, and he's like, no, now I want to go back to just doing guitar again.
right. All right. Any other honorable mentions there, Roger?
I think I might. Let's see. Reading my notes. Oh, Alice Cooper.
Constrictor.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
album. Great
Yeah.
album.
I didn't get a shot. That was one that it was like it missed my deadline.
That was the first. That was his first album after that whole blackout period, is what they call it. And
Yeah, I've heard it though.
that's a really solid album. That one's good.
I'll
And
that
check
song that he wrote for Friday the 13th.
Yep. Man Behind the Mask.
I'll check that out, and I'll let you know in the chat.
Buddy of mine gave me an original release vinyl of Welcome to My Nightmare.
Wow.
Couple years ago.
Nice.
Oh, such a good album.
Let's see. I have one I forgot. And I don't have a copy of it handy. But if you guys really want to check something weird out, check out the band Impaler. Impaler. They put out an album that year called "If We Had Brains, We'd Be Dangerous."
That's how I live my life.
That's like some of
They do a pretty good cover of the Stooges' "Search and Destroy." Very kind of a punky, speed metal-y, a little bit of melody, but they don't really take themselves all that seriously. I first discovered them by this album called Rise of the Mutants, and it has the singer draped over this wooden coffin, and he looks like he's got this piece of liver hanging out of his mouth. And basically the album is like a 4-song demo. It sounds like it was recorded all like on one track, and they stuck on some overdubs. It's not the greatest recording, but my God, those songs are so catchy. If We Had Brains, We'd Be Dangerous was a little bit more professionally produced by Bob Mould of the band Husker Du, if you've ever heard of them. And so the guitars still sound like crap, but the bass and the drums almost sound a little too overproduced. And then you have the singer who's really just screaming out and spitting out his lyrics. But it's a fun album. But yeah, that was one I listened to quite a lot too back in the day. But I'll tell you what, 1986 was one heck of a great year for music. I think if you look for folks who are looking back on the year 2022, I don't think you're going to get quite as memorable a list of stuff as what we had here in 1986, as far as I'm concerned. So guys, I want to thank you for doing this. This was awesome. So what do you guys think? The North and South Metal Connection. What else should we talk about? Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what some of your favorites were from 1986. Let's get a good conversation going. What kind of things should we be talking about next? So with that said, I got Ben Carson. We got JD Akins. We got Roger Serraris up from the Great White North. I'm John Clauser. This was my music corner, the North and South Metal Connection. We will catch you guys soon. Stay heavy.